So our next part of learning to play is world and game management. Here we are going to talk about key features of world management in classroom settings. You as an educator will learn about files, download, import, and export worlds to support world management within your lessons. You will also be introduced to the share worlds to teams, Google Classroom, and the URL link that exists within the game. And finally, you'll learn how to use the classroom settings. Here are some important terms you need to know before we move on. .mc world file is a file format that is specific to Minecraft Education Edition and indicates that it can be imported into the game. My Worlds. My Worlds is a location where all the new template created or imported world files are stored on a specific device and accessible to any user who logs in to the device. So even if it's another email address that's using Minecraft in the same device, he or she, whoever the user is, can still get the world files available inside your device. The import means a strategy to add a world to a device so that it can be used in a specific lesson, or an educator wants to modify the world to add to a lesson. Export means a strategy used to download and share a world file, transfer the world to another device, save the world in its current state, or share a file to show learner understanding. The last term is classroom settings. Settings can be customized to meet the learning task goals and saved in the world so that they are in a place when the learners use the world created by the educator. Now that you have placed your first blocks in the Placing First Blocks course we took earlier, and you've learned to build like the learner in the Blocks of Grass world, which is considered a blank Minecraft world template, let's explore how you as an educator will manage the world files within lessons. This will include knowing what a file looks like when it is saved to the computer to make modifications to it, and or you prepare to share the file with your learners. Understanding how to download worlds and how to identify the file type is the first step in planning. So you have to go to education.minecraft.net in a browser. Once you're inside the site, go to Class Resources and click on Find Worlds. World files in Minecraft have the .mc world file type. So just like the .pdf, .xls, or .doc, .mc world file are for Minecraft. You will see the .mc world file type when you download a world from this site, education.minecraft.net, or export a game file in Minecraft Education Edition. Hover down and you'll see featured worlds. Now there are other ways to filter the worlds that you can see, but for now let's find Fantastic Mr. Fox. Click on View World. Now these world files are considered templates that you then modify to share with your students. So if Fantastic Mr. Fox is a world that you'd like to use, you'll see the description here, the world of Roald Dahl's Fantastic Mr. Fox recreated in Minecraft. You've got the details around here. And if it matches what you need for your lesson, then click on Download World. You will see that it is now downloading onto your device. Once it's downloaded onto your device, you can use this world by importing it inside your Minecraft Education Edition. Now, like I mentioned earlier, even if there is another user who will use your Minecraft inside your device, he or she can also use this same world. So once you download the world, knowing how to use the file will be a time saver. So we'll now be starting by importing the file to prepare it for a lesson. Critical to this is knowing the basics of the world files. Number one, all world files are locally stored on your device after downloading. Number two, world files are only saved and stored on the machine you're working on. And if a student or educator moves to another machine, so if you move to another machine when you go into your school, for example, your world file will not be available unless you export and re-import the file into the new machine. So that's why importing and exporting is a valuable information to know. And then lastly, no world files are stored in the cloud by default. So how do you find this world and how do you import this world into your Minecraft Education Edition?
So you can simply type on your search box in your desktop .mc world file, and you'll see the recently downloaded Fantastic Mr. Fox. Double click on it and the Microsoft Education Edition will be opened with that world.
Another way is to do it in-game. So once you're inside a game, this is after clicking play, you have the button called import. Once you click on import, you'll be routed to the downloads. The folder downloads has the Fantastic Mr. Fox that you just downloaded. And once you click that and click on open, your world will be imported and you'll see the message that says level import finished successfully. And if you click on view my worlds, you will see the world that you have just imported. Understanding the world basics and importing is actually a time saver for you as an educator. So you can use this new learning to help figure out how you get your worlds to your students. So you can just simply send them the .mc world file and they can import the world file if you want them to use a world that you have created. So after we know how to import, we're going to talk about how to export. Since you are aware that the Minecraft Education Edition world you're working in is specific to the device in which you're building, so what do you do if you want to continue building on a computer at home or want to share the world with your learners' devices? You must export the world to do this, then save the .mc world file in a cloud location, USB drive, shared file storage for you or your learners to access and download to another device. So to do this, go to View My Worlds to enter your world. For example, let's go to Creative Writing, the one that we made earlier, and choose Settings. Once you click on Settings, hover down or scroll down to go to Export World. Click on Export World and you will see that it asks you where to save the world. You can save it in a USB drive or within your C drive or anywhere you would like. If you no longer want the world on a device, you can choose Delete World right here next to Export World. In the games, this is in the game settings location still. This would ensure you or your learners are accessing the most recent version of the world, no matter the device you are using. So now that you know how to export a world you have edited, let's move on to the next topic, which is sharing worlds to Teams, Google Classroom, and with a URL link. With the latest release of Minecraft Education Edition, that's 1.14.31, teachers now have the ability to share worlds and lessons with their students to Microsoft Teams and Classroom. This process allows for teachers to browse all the great content in the in-game library and share to their students in Microsoft Teams and Classroom in a fast and exciting way. Please note that the Share to Teams or Classroom features are only supported on Windows 10 and Chromebook platforms. iPad and Mac OS users can still use the copy and paste URL feature. So how do we share in-game? When you're inside the game, click on New and Featured. Find contents that you think are beneficial or you want the content to be shared to your students. Click the content and click on Share Link. You will see this link. This link can be copied, or you can also click on Teams. Once you click on Teams, you'll be routed to your Teams account. Log in with your school email and password. You'll be given two options to share this to Microsoft Teams to your students. Either share it to a channel or create an assignment. If you share it to a channel, just click on Share To and find the channel name or the team name. You can also say something about the world that you are sharing to your students. If you choose to create an assignment, choose the class you would like to assign to, for example. You can edit the title of the assignment, give instructions, for example, provide points, and click on Assign. Once you assign the assignment, your students will be able to see it in their Microsoft Teams assignment tab. Another way to share a world to your students through Teams is by going to education.minecraft.net and looking for the world type. Similar to the steps earlier under class resources, find world, find the world, and scroll down to see the share button. Once you click on share, you will have this link right here to copy. Copy this link and paste it on your Teams channel or inside the Teams assignment. So the next thing we'll talk about is the classroom settings. Let's go inside View My Worlds and let's enter Fantastic Mr. Fox. Let's click on Settings and we'll be routed to the game settings. Now, earlier, as we were trying to export the world, let's hover down or scroll down. We went past through Show Classroom Settings, just above Export World. So this is off by default, but if you click on it, you will be turning it on or activating it. So you can use the term right on, left off, as it's a catchy way to remember if a setting is off or on. Right on, left off. So right now it's on. And as you activate it, you'll see different kinds of settings you can change. Let's start with perfect weather. You'll see that it's off by default. Okay, so a question that you can think for yourself is that, do I need my students to experience a perfect weather or not? Like, do they need a day with always sunny skies and no rain? You can use this switch to turn it on, otherwise your players will experience a usual amount of weather with occasional rain or other weather effects. So let's turn that off so they can experience, rain, sometimes hail. The next thing is allow mobs. So from the word mob itself, this is on by default. Mobs are living, moving creatures found within a Minecraft world. Some are friendly, like chickens, but some are also not friendly, like creepers, even villagers that could attack your students while they are building. So you can ask yourself, do they need to have these mobs, or would you want them to not have distractions during the building process. So let's turn that off for now. Remember, right on, left off, so we're going to turn it off. The next thing that you can change is allow destructive items. So these are TNTs, for example, or even fire that they can experience while they are building. This is on by default. As an example, when enabled, players may use, like I said earlier, TNT near other people or near other students. And then we'll have player damage, which is kind of related to destructive items. Basically, this is on by default. It means that players can take damage from the environment and mobs, and this prohibits world modification. So basically, they can damage themselves if they're inside a world where they're alone. If it's a multiplayer world, then they can damage each other. Let's turn that off, and also turn off allow destructive items. Then let's go to Immutable World. So from the word immutable, it means immune. It means that the players are immune to the world. You know, they cannot be affected negatively by the world. So this just works like adventure mode in other editions of Minecraft, but this is exclusive to Minecraft Education Edition. Now let's go to player versus player damage. What it is on by default. When on, players will be able to cause damage to each other, including friendly fire and intentional behavior. So again, you can ask yourself if you need that, or your students do not need that while creating something or building inside Minecraft. The last setting is the show border effect. It's turned on by default. Basically, if you turn this on, or if it's activated, it means that you can see the border blocks that are available in the world. Border blocks are a type of block unique to Minecraft Education Edition that allows the player to create invisible walls or force fields that prevent other players from entering certain areas. So you can see that border effect if this is on. And then now that you have changed your classroom settings, you can scroll up. The next thing we'll do is change the world name. You can change that. This is Fantastic Mr. Fox, but if you want to put another name or add something to it, then you can as well. The next thing that you can change is the default game mode. Alright, so you have the survival mode, the creative mode, and the adventure mode. Well, the survival mode is where the player must collect resources, build structures while surviving in their generated world, and then they can interact with local villagers, and at night even defend against mobs that attack on site. So it's like, from the word itself, they have to actually survive inside that world. So there's inventory count, there's life count. It's like a real, kind of like a real video game mode. And then let's go to the creative mode. In creative mode, the player has all the resources available in the item selection tabs. Remember the inventory, there's no inventory count and life count, so they can use all the items that they need, and the resources are unlimited. You can also destroy blocks instantly, including those which would normally be indestructible in a different mode or in a survival mode. Command and structure blocks can also be used in creative mode. Items do not lose durability or disappear inside creative mode. There are several blocks that do not appear in creative mode but can be called using the /give command. It can be used with a command set block, which is part of our advanced video series for Minecraft. And then the last one is the adventure mode. Adventure mode has limited features to preserve adventure maps from being changed. In this mode, you'll be able to fly. Also, blocks cannot be destroyed by hand, but rather you must use an item with a can destroy tag to destroy a block. So it's kind of like creative, but more features are there. Okay, so let's keep it as creative. And then on the difficulty level, you have peaceful, easy, normal, and hard. So these are self-explanatory. Peaceful means there are no mobs, and it's not dangerous to create something or build something inside the world. There are no creepers or creatures that could destroy your players or what they were making. So easy, normal, or hard. So let's keep that as normal. And then we'll have the permission levels for students who join your world. You have these choices. Visitors. A visitor can freely explore your world but cannot interact with blocks, items, or entities. A member is an active player in your world who can break and create blocks and attack mobs and other players. So by this, if you are if you're giving a world to your students and hosting one world and you want your students to join your world, keep them as members so they can actively play inside your world to break and create blocks, but they cannot control your world. And then the last permission level is the operator. Operators are members who can set player permissions and use commands to have more control over your world. So of course you are an operator yourself, but if you want other students to be operators as well, they can also set player permissions and use commands to have control over your world. But normally you would want your students to be members. Let's keep that as members. So that's it for classroom settings. Like I mentioned earlier, you can play inside that world or you can host it so that your students can join you in one world. So this course was designed around the question, in what ways will management and settings support lesson integration and learner needs? And in order to help you answer these questions, this course met the following objectives. You learned about key features of world management and classroom settings. You also learned about files, download, import, and export worlds to support world management within lessons. And finally, you learned how and when to use classroom settings. Reflect on your takeaways from this learning that you have done through this course, and always practice so you can master Minecraft Education Edition. If you have any questions, email us at info@cts.ae.